Hello friends, I am going to take now in this chapter clocks and timer circuits. There is a very important things using a triple five timer. We are going to study now a stable multivibrator. What is a stable multivibrator, etc. And what is the triple five timer? Triple five timer is the IC which I have already explained you in previous lecture. That is triple five timer as a monostable operation. We already discussed all these things, but still I am little bit revising you to just your recalling your memory regarding the triple five timer. The triple five timer is highly stable device for generating accurate time delay or oscillations. Signetic Corporation is the company who first introduced this device as the SE 555 or any 555 version. SE is the military version and NE is the commercial version, only difference with the temperature. And it is available in two different styles, 8 pin circular style which is called TO99 and CAN type or 8 pin mini DIP or a 14 pin DIP. The 556 timer contains two 555 timers and is a 14 pin DIP. There is also available counter timer such as XR2240 which contains a 555 timer plus programmable binary counter in a straight single 16 pin package. A single 555 timer can provide a time delay ranging from microseconds to hours, whereas counter timer can have a maximum timing range of days. That means you have studied in one of stable multivibrator. That pulse which is going to be generated after trigger, that pulse width can range from microseconds to hours. In normal 555 timer, but in XR it can range up to days. That means one pulse can be completed after some days also. So it depends upon the requirement. You can utilize a different type of 555 timers. This is the pin diagrams of the 555 timer. I am just revising, you know all the things. Pin number 1 is the ground. This size is very important and versatile. That's why I am just telling you this thing, because so many projects, applications and practicals are based on this particular IC. Pin number 1 is the ground, pin number 8 is a VCC. So positive terminal should be connected, negative terminal should be connected here. Pin number 2 is the trigger terminal, pin number 3 is the output terminal from where you can derive the output. Pin number 4 is the reset terminal, pin number 5 is the control voltage, pin number 6 is the threshold, pin number 7 is the discharge terminal. This is 8 pin and it is dual inline package, so it is called DIP. But only 4 pins this side and 4 pins this side, so it is called mini DIP. This 555 timer can be used with the supply voltage ranging from plus 5 volt to plus 18 volt. This is very important. So VCC you can apply any voltage between plus 5 volt to plus 18 volt. When you apply the plus 5 volt, it is compatible with the TTL. And when you apply plus 12 volt or plus 15 volt, then it is compatible with CMOS. So it can compatible with both the logic family TTL as well as CMOS logic circuits. Because of wide range of the supply voltage, the 555 timer is versatile and easy to use in various applications. Various application includes oscillator, A-stable is an oscillator, remember, pulse generator, ramp and square wave generator, monoshot multivibrator, burglar alarm, traffic light control and voltage monitor, etc. And so many applications can be derived using 555 timer. It can be utilized as a pulse modulating circuit also, which is also you are going to study and practical next year, that is in TY. Now description of functional diagram. Figure 8.1 gives the pin diagram and figure 8 8.2 gives the functional diagram for the 555 IC timer. Referring to the figure 8.2, there are three 5K internal resistors act as a voltage divider, providing bias voltage of 2 by 3 VCC to upper comparator and 1 by 3 VCC to the lower comparator, where VCC is the supply voltage between the pin number 8 and pin number 1. They also aid in determining the timing interval. It is possible to vary the time electronically too by applying a modulating voltage to the control voltage input terminal on pin number 5. That means normally this 3 5K resistance is providing a reference voltage to the upper comparator 2 by 3 VCC and lower comparator 1 by 3 VCC. And depending upon this voltage, that means the timing cycle of the pulse which is going to be generated is decided. This timing cycle, timing interval, you can modify electronically by modifying the voltage at threshold comparator, that is pin number 5, which is also using a modulating signal, where you can give a DC voltage and you can modify that voltage 2 by 3 VCC, and that way the timing interval can be modified and modulation can be derived. If you don't require such kind of modulations, pin number 5 should be connected with the capacitor 0.01 microfarad connected between the control voltage terminal pin number 5 and ground to bypass noise or ripple from the supply voltage. That means it will maintain exactly 2 by 3 VCC DC voltage at threshold comparator as a reference voltage, and whatever there is a ripple or noise is there, that can be bypassed. So it will bypass the AC voltage, but it will block the DC voltage, and that way the DC is going to be maintained there. This is the pin functional diagram of 555 timer. This also the same functional diagram you studied. Actually, it is internal diagram of 555 timer. You can see that this is a 5K, this is a 5K, and this is a 5K. These three 5K resistors are connected in series between the VCC and pin number 1 ground. So they will prepare a voltage divider circuit. After first 5K, there is a voltage is going to be 1 by 3 VCC, which is the reference to the lower comparator, and it is given to the non-inverting terminal of the lower comparator. Similarly, after the second 5K resistance, it is going to be 2 by 3 VCC, which is working as a reference voltage for inverting terminal of upper comparator, and this two output of upper comparator and lower comparator is given to the basic RS flip-flop, where upper comparator output is the R reset terminal and this is going to be the set terminal, and output of the flip-flop is a basic RS flip-flop. So Q and Q bar is going to be the output. Q bar is connected as two places, one to the base of the transistor Q1 and other one is the input to the power amplifier, which is working as an inverter, and output of this power amplifier is opposite to this and will be available as the output at pin number 3. This point is also can be modified using this transistor Q2, which is nothing but the pin number 4. Base of this one is the pin number 4. When the reset voltage is less than 0.4 volt, then this transistor output is going to be 1, and which will see that this transistor will start conducting and it will be immediately reset to the stable state. Remember, output is going to be low. So this way normally the function diagram is going to be working. Now how it will be working as a stable multivibrator, that means both the states are not stable state that we are going to see. The same circuit which we have utilized by connecting external component as a monostable multivibrator. Now we will be connecting external component such that it will work as a stable multivibrator. The 555 timer is a TTL, compatible integrated circuit IC, that can be used as an oscillator to provide a clock waveform. These are the description, etc. Now I have taken from Malvino and Leach regarding astable multivariator, because this description is better in that book. So the 555 timer is a TTL compatible integrated circuit that can be used as an oscillator to provide a clock waveform. Remember, monostable and bistable is not an oscillator, but astable is an oscillator. It is a free running oscillator. It is basically switching the circuit that has two distinct output levels. That means output is going to be low or high. With the proper external components connected, neither of the output level is stable. That means both the states are unstable, and it will be back and forth between these two unstable states. As a result of the circuit continuously switches back and forth between these two unstable states. That means it will be low for some times, then automatically it will go to the high state, it will reside into the high state for certain period of time, again it will come back to the low state, it will reside into the low state again for certain period of time, then without doing anything, no requirement of the trigger, it will go into the high state, and that means it backs and forth in this two unstable state continuously, and that way it is providing a different type of periodic rectangular waveforms. In other words, the circuit oscillates and output is periodic rectangular waveforms. Since the neither output state is stable, this circuit is said to be stable and is often referred to as free running multivibrator or astable multivibrator. The frequency of oscillation as well as duty cycle are accurately controlled by two external resistors and a single timing capacitor. So, here we are going to connect a very important three components, RA, RB and capacitor C. These three components decides the frequency of oscillations as well as duty cycle, time during which it is going to be high and time during which it is going to be low. This is decided by RA, RB and C capacitance. The internal circuit diagram of LM3555 timer is shown in figure 7.13a. Note that the two comparator inside have two different reference voltage, VCC by 3 and 2 VCC by 3 for comparisons. If VCC is the voltage between pin number 1 and 8. Now you see that whatever we have studied, the functional diagram of the 555 timer is shown here in a pin diagrams with internal diagram of IC, you can see that. So let's study this one. Pin number 8 is the output, you are connecting VCC here, and pin number 1 is a ground. So between the pin number 8 and pin number 1, that means VCC and ground, there are 3 5K resistors are connected, and with respect to ground, this point is 1 by 3 VCC, this point is going to be 2 by 3 VCC, and this point is going to be 3 by 3 VCC, that means VCC will be there. This point 1 by 3 VCC is given reference voltage for this lower comparator, and 2 by 3 VCC is given a reference voltage for the upper comparator. Output of this upper comparator and output of the lower comparator, they are utilized for basic RS set reset flip flop. And there are outputs. Q bar is connected through, actually it is inside this block only. Q is connected through a power amplifier, which is inverter, which we have seen, and that is shown connected to the pin number 3 output. Pin number 4 is a reset terminal, pin number 2 is a trigger terminal, pin number 5 is your control terminal, pin number 6 is a threshold terminal, and pin number 7 is your discharge transistor collector. You can see that. So this way, internally inside the IC with the pin diagram how it is connected, that is shown here. This is actual logic diagram of a stable multivibrator. So with the external components, you can see that pin number 4, which is the reset terminal, pin number 8, which is a VCC, both are connected with the VCC directly. So when the reset terminal is inactive, it should be connected with the VCC. That means reset terminal is inactive. It is not intermittent reset the output voltage. Remember, that's why it is connected with the VCC. Now, between the VCC and ground, there are these three components. RA is the resistance, RB another resistance, and capacitor C. They are connected in series. So what happens now? Pin number 2 and pin number 6 are connected at the junction of RB and capacitor C here. This is pin number 2. You can see that trigger terminal. Pin number 6 is the threshold terminal. That means reference voltage they are getting from charging and discharging of this capacitor. And this is the junction between these two. Pin number 7 is connected at the junctions between RA and RB. So what happens and how the circuit is going to be working? We can start because both the states are unstable state. You can consider that output is going to be in the low state. Here the output is initially in the low state. If the pin number 3 is going to be the low state and there is a trigger terminal is going to be there, that means capacitor is already fully charged and it is discharging. Now how the capacitor is going to be discharging? The discharging path is this. Here there is a charge. So capacitor charge is moving like this. It will go here and the pin number 7 where the collector is connected of the transistor Q1. So the capacitor is discharging through the transistor Q1 which is inside this IC. Through the collector to the emitter the current is flowing. So capacitor is discharging through RB, you can say that. And when the voltage across the capacitor is slightly less than 1 by 3 VCC, then what happens? It will trigger pin number 2. That means the potential at pin number 2 is less than 1 by 3 VCC. That means there is a lower comparator is going to be giving a trigger pulse output which will set the flip-flops, and because of that output will go into the high state. And output will go into the high state. So what happens? At that time transistor Q1 which is going into the off state, from conducting it is going to be the off state because base emitter junction because reverse bias. The potential at the base is not sufficient to drive this transistor. So this is disconnected. This pin is disconnected from the collector of the transistor Q1. So what happens? Now the capacitor which is already discharged up to 1 by 3 VCC start charging through the VCC. A VCC voltage is applying the current in this directions from VCC to RA, RA to RB, and that way it is charging this capacitor C and it is exponentially charging this capacitor C. So capacitor is charging through the resistance RA and RB, and the capacitor is going to be potential across the capacitor is going to be increasing exponentially with the time constant RC. RC means RA plus RB into C with some factor 0.693. So the capacitor is going to be increasing the potential, and when the potential of this terminal is slightly 2 by 3 VCC or just greater than 2 by 3 VCC, inside this one there is a upper comparator and that provides that voltage is going to be changed, and the output of the upper comparator provides the reset trigger to the flip-flop, and the flip-flop is going to be reset. Flip-flop is going to be reset, that means output which was high is going to be the low state. And at that time the capacitor, this transistor Q1 which was disconnected, and it will be discharged, and the capacitor is going to be discharged through the resistance RB through transistor Q1 to the ground. So this is the discharging path. this direction the current will flow. Charging path is going to be this one. So charging through RA plus RB into C and discharging through RB to the transistor. So in that case, discharging path RA will not come into the picture, and that is the reasons T1 and T2 are different. T1 is not equal to T2. T1 is the time during which it is going to be high. T2 is the time during which it is going to be low. Here, don't confuse here. This is not the time. T2 means between these two. When it is low, that time is called T2. So that T2 depend upon RB and C only. Also note how they are connected to plus and minus input of the comparator. The set and reset flip-flop sets or reset the output based on this comparator output in its usual operation. If required, it can be separately reset by asserting pin number 4. If it is not active, it should be connected to the VCC. If you want to interrupt these operations, then that reset terminal should be made to the ground. In this section, we show that how 555 can be connected to get an stable multivibrator. The logic symbol for the LM555 timer connected as an oscillator is shown in figure 7.13. The timing capacitor C is charged toward VCC through the resistance RA and RB. The charging time T1 is given as T1 is equal to 0.693 into RC time constant. But because it is charging through RA and RB, both are connected in series, so you can write RA plus RB into C. This is the time during which the output is high, as shown in the figure 7.13. The timing capacitor C is then discharged towards the ground through the resistance RB and transistor Q1. The discharge time T2 is given as T2 is equal to 0.693 RB into C. It is discharging through only RB and RA is bypass and discharging through RB to the transistor Q1 to the ground. This is the time during which the output is low, as shown in the figure 7.30. Thus, the total time, capital T, that is called periodic time, that is equal to T1 plus T2. And summation of both the equation will give you 0.693 RA plus 2 times RB into C. And frequency of oscillation is then found as f is equal to 1 upon period, that is T, that is equal to 1.44 upon RA plus 2 times RB into C. So this way on these three external components. Now related with this, there is one example we are going to study here. Determine the frequency of oscillation for the 555 timer in figure 7.13. Given RA is equal to RB is equal to 1K ohms and C is equal to 1000 PA. That means RA and RB both are equal of 1K 1000 ohms and C is equal to 1000 PA. Solution. Using the relationship given above, we obtain that F is equal to, we can substitute in our previous expression that F is equal to 1.44 upon RA plus RB. RA is equal to 1000 and here it is 2 times RB. RB is also 1000. So 2000 into 1000 PF, 1000 into 10 raised to minus 12. That means it is 10 raised to minus 9 Faraday. And substituting all, you can calculate, it comes out to be 480 kilohertz frequency. So it is generating 480 kilohertz frequency, which you can measure on the CRO. The output of the 555 timer when connected this way is periodic rectangular waveform, but not a square wave, because we know that charging time and discharging time are different. T1 is not equal to T2, so you are not getting a square wave. Square wave means symmetrical waveforms, T1 and T2 are equal. Here it is asymmetrical waveform, or you can say that rectangular waveforms is going to be generated. This is because T1 and T2 are unequal and the waveform is said to be asymmetrical, and measure of asymmetry of the waveform can be stated in terms of the duty cycle. So now understand what is the duty cycle. Duty cycle is nothing but measure of asymmetry of rectangular waveforms. Here we define the duty cycle to be ratio of T2 to the period. That means T2 time during which the output remains into the low state. T1 is the time during which output remains into the high state. So T2 upon T1 plus T2, that means T2 upon total T, that means how much percentage of the time it remains into the low state to the total time. That is called the duty cycle. Here we define the duty cycle to be the ratio of T2 to the period. Thus duty cycle is equal to T2 upon T1 plus T2. As defined, the duty cycle is always a number between 0.0 and 1.0, but it is often expressed as a percentage. So to find out a percentage, this expression you have to multiply by 100. Now example related with this one. Let us say you are given a value of Rb, that is equal to 750 ohms. Determine the value of Ra and C in figure 7.13 to provide a 1 megahertz clock, right? So the frequency of oscillation should be 1 megahertz. That means 1 into 10 raised to 6 hertz. That has to be duty cycle of 25%. 25% means 25% time it remains into the low state. That means remaining 75% time it remains into the high state. Then what you have to find out? What change in the circuit shown in the figure 7.13 give you duty cycle approximately 50%. That means what we can make a change in the circuit so that the duty cycle is going to be 50%. If the duty cycle is 50%, what does it mean? Time during which it remains high and time during which it remains low are equal. That means it will generate a symmetrical waveform, it will generate a square waveform. For that, what modification is required? So first we will find out A. See the solutions. A 1 megahertz clock has a period of 1 microseconds because time is equal to 1 upon frequency. So 1 upon 10 raised to 6, that means 10 raised to minus 6 second, and 10 raised to minus 6 second, that is equal to 1 microseconds. Now duty cycle is 25%. That means out of one total time 1 microsecond, for 25 microseconds, 0.25 microseconds, it remains into the low state. So that is considered to be T2. And for the remaining time, that means 0.75 microseconds, it remains into the high state. Now, solving this expression, duty cycle is equal to Rb upon Ra plus 2Rb. If you substitute T2 upon T1 plus T2 in terms of that equation, T2 is equal to 0.693 Rb into C, and T1 total time T is equal to 0.693 Ra plus 2Rb into C will be there. So by solving this one, we get duty cycle is equal to Rb upon Ra plus 2 times Rb. Now to determine Ra, we can make the subject of the formula Ra from this equation. So Ra is equal to Rb upon duty cycle minus 2 times Rb. What is Rb is given you are 750 ohms upon the duty cycle was 25 minus 1500, that is 2 times Rb, that will give you 1500 ohms. So the value of Ra you can find out is going to be 1500 ohms. Now solving for T2 is equal to 0.693 Rb into C. For C yields C is equal to T2 upon 0.693 Rb. Substituting we get value of the capacitance should be 480 pF. Now we are answering second question. how it can be converted into the square wave generator or symmetrical waveforms. So one diode is required and that diode should be connected across the resistance RB, and the direction of this one is very important. So charging time and discharging time remain same, and for that RA is equal to RB is taken. You cannot make RA is equal to 0. So you have to choose that RA and RB should be equal, and that means what happens, we'll see here, you read here. Connect a diode across RB pointing from pin number 7 to the pin number 6 so that it conducts while charging the capacitor C and makes RA is equal to RB. So this is the arrangement is required. Then what happens? Then while charging, RB is bypassed as diode is forward bias. But discharging is through RB as diode remains reverse bias and does not conduct. Thus, we get same charging and discharging currents. Neglecting small voltage drop across the forward bias diode, we approximately get 50% of the duty cycle. So T1 and T2 are almost equal, and that way we get symmetrical waveforms. Monograms given in figure 7.13b can be used to estimate the free running frequency to be achieved with various combination of external resistance and timing capacitor. For example, the intersection of the resistance line 10 kilo ohms Ra plus 2 times Rb and the capacitance line 1.0 microfarad gives a free running frequency of just over 100 hertz. That you can see that this is your monogram actually. Free running frequency. These are the different value of the resistance. You can see that 10 mega ohms. This is 1 mega ohms. This is 100 kilo ohms. This is 10 kilo ohms. And this is going to be 1 kilo ohms will be there. So this way, this is the various value of the resistance, and this resistance is Ra plus 2 times Rb will be there. This is the value of the different value of the capacitance 0.01, 0.1, 1 microfarad and 10 microfarad and 100 microfarad. Now what they have given here, just a minute. Here, for example, the intersection of the resistance line 10 kilo ohms. We are taking the value of the resistance 10 kilo ohms. What resistance? Ra plus 2 times Rb and 1 microfarad capacitance. So you can see that this is a 10 kilo ohms resistance Ra plus 2 times Rb and 1 microfarad capacitance. So at that intersection, how much frequency is given? Nearly 100 hertz it is generating. You can see that. So the clock frequency which is going to be generated is going to be 100 hertz. So this way you can choose actually approximately different value of Ra plus 2 times Rb and the value of the C corresponding what frequency you can obtain, that you can practically find out from this monograph also. Now I have given the assignment, that means small questions which is already given in that book. So what is the stable circuit? A 555 timer can be connected to form an oscillator T or F. The oscillation frequency is astable. 555 is directly inversely proportional to the external timing capacitor. This assignment, question, etc. you can attend right now. You don't want to attend, no problem. You can attend after your CIA 1 examination. I don't mind. So thank you very much, friends.